If you find yourself identifying your negative thoughts, what I want you to do is embrace the reality that your negative thoughts, they are changing the chemical makeup of your brain. The reason is because every thought creates a neurochemical change in your body. When you think a positive thought, you get a surge of rewarding neurotransmitters releasing a very legal and exciting drug called dopamine. It's legal and it's powerful, and every time your brain drops some dopamine, you get this hit, this buzz, this thrill. Someone you like and respect comments on your latest Instagram post. You get some dopamine. Okay. Someone says, oh girl, your hair looks so good. Dopamine. Amy texts me and says, thinking about you, come home soon. Dopamine, okay? It's that positive surge of release in your brain. And what's so interesting is the more often you think a thought, science tells us it's easier to think that thought again. Once you think a thought, you're creating neural pathways in your brain. And literally, we have billions of neural pathways in our brain. The more often we think that thought, the more the connection is there, and it's easier to think that thought again, and before long, whatever we have been thinking becomes our default thought. Stronghold. If you believe a lie for long enough, you start to be impacted as if that lie were true. You get stuck in a rut. Imagine this, if I walked out in my front yard and I walked across the lawn for 100 days straight. If I walked across that, what would I do? I would create a path in my yard. In my mind, if for 100 days straight, I think on a lie, I start to believe the lie, and I create a neural pathway through my brain. With God's help, what we're gonna do is renew our minds. We're gonna stay off that old path, and if I stay off that path for 100 days, what happens? The grass grows back, there's more resistance, it's not as easy to walk, and I forge a new pathway in my brain toward the truth, and the truth ultimately sets me free. This is science, and it's godly because God created science. Romans 12:2, Paul said it this way. He said, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world. We could say it this way, don't be conformed to the wrong ways of thinking. He said, but be transformed. How? By the renewing of your mind. We're staying off the destructive, negative paths, and we're creating new paths of truth. I don't know how this will play out in your life, but maybe your path is this. It's a frustrating day at work, and you come home and it's been crazy at home because it's always crazy when you homeschool. It's a spiritual principle, and all of you are homeschooling or to some degree of that, and you walk in and your old path says, yell at your spouse. And what you do is you stay off that path. You capture that thought, and you might count to 3 or 10 or 110 in your case. And you say a prayer, and instead you walk a different road, and you come up and say, I'm sorry, it's been a difficult day, and you hug and you change the tone by changing the path. Or maybe you feel bad about yourself. And so when you feel bad about yourself, there's a very direct path to the freezer, and you eat ice cream when you feel bad, and then you feel worse because you ate the whole thing. What you're gonna do is create a new path. Instead of walking to the freezer, you walk to the front yard, and you take a little walk, and you exercise. And when you exercise, you get some dopamine and some adrenaline, and you feel better about yourself, and you create a new path. When you're bored, what do? You pick up your phone, you look at Instagram, you scroll through at all your friends, and you hate them because their life seems better than yours, and you're not there. Why weren't you there? And you feel like a loser. And so what you might do is create a new path. You open up the YouVersion Bible app, and you put something different in your brain that renews your mind. to think in a different way. We're gonna forge a new path in our brain, because the more you walk that path, the easier it becomes to travel, and the more you stay off the old one, the more it weakens, and it's harder to think those same thoughts again. Here's your assignment. Identify the biggest stronghold that's holding you back. Just one. We're not gonna attack all 73. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with one. What is it for you? You might battle with identity, and you might feel like, I'm just not lovable. That's your one. Or you might wrongly believe, because you've said it for thousands of days, I'll just never be good enough. Or I don't deserve anything good. Or I'll always be broke. There's the haves and the have-nots, and I'm just a have-not, okay? You feel helpless, hopeless, worthless, like life is pointless. Identify that one stronghold, name it, because you cannot defeat what you don't define. Identify that biggest stronghold, and then the